This is Smarter San Diego TV.
Millennials and baby boomers alike, they want to be in urban environments right now.
Thank God for the Electoral College vote.
In a 4-hour breakfast, we raised $9,000. So that's something that we take pretty seriously.
And you can't diet your way into being lean and fit. They go together.
In New York City, deciding what's best for the rest of the freaking country.
This is not a market built on a stack of cards. It's a solid foundation.
0%. That is a thumbs up.
Everyone has a life worth telling a story about. And the more adversity that you faced, the deeper your story.
Well, am I going to be okay? You know, like, am I going to be able to walk?
There's just so much creativity in this town that it's hard to hide it.
Well, you have these beliefs, well, what do you do with it?
Our next guest has 3 tips for San Diego real estate. Please welcome luxury real estate specialist, Scott Degnan.
All right, there he is. How you doing, Derek? What's going on, Scott? Good to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So crazy market that we're in right now.
It is.
A lot of things going on. We've seen a lot on this listing. I've just been kind of, but you wanted to come share some secrets today, so I said, yeah. We need secrets right now.
I think we all need help.
We need as much information as we can possibly get. Obviously, it's a competitive market for buyers. They're the most discouraged people. It's a great market for sellers. How do you win in a competitive market like this? Or at least, how do you not make a mistake?
Well, I mean, we're all human, so we're always prone to mistakes. But I would say that it's what you do after the mistake that really makes defines your character. But if you're working with buyers right now in a competitive market, you have to be doing stuff that's different. The old days, you could just send over your offer and just, hey, ours is the top offer, so we'll most likely get picked. Not today. Everybody's looking at different financing terms and, how long is the close of escrow? People are waiving their appraisal contingencies. I have my clients, every single one of them, write a letter about themselves describing why they think that they should get the home so you can make that connection with the seller. And then I also write a letter for them describing why my clients are qualified, why they should get the home. And then if possible, if I know that that agent is doing an open house on the weekend, I'll go and personally hand deliver that offer to them so that I can kind of create that relationship with them as well and put them at ease that, hey, look, he's been in this business since 2007 on the real estate side, 1998 on the mortgage side. He knows both ends of the transaction, and just make them feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, because I mean, as a listing agent, right, it's not as, you're making a decision, it's not just about the dollar figure. You got to pick one that's going to actually come to fruition. I mean, that's really, really important, because you might get 10, 11, 12 offers, that's great, but you have to pick one that is going to come through, because if that falls out, you've just lost a big position in the marketplace. Now you're back on the market.
Absolutely. Which
is sort of like a bad thing. And it's certainly not something that's going to allow you to command as much gravitas in the negotiation as you would have been able to before. Now, because now you're really scared about having a buyer fall through the second time.
Right.
So what I've noticed is that it seems like listing agents mostly want to pick the offer they feel like is the one that's going to come through for sure.
Right.
Like, this is a committed buyer. They are definitely going to buy this house. Right?
Yes.
So that's the main thing.
Yeah. And sometimes it doesn't even come down to price. Like you were saying, it's that feeling that you have from, and you gain that trust with that other client. One of my buyers came in $5,000 under asking, and they had an offer at asking, but they chose us because I took those extra steps. I created that relationship with the seller's agent, and we were the ones that got picked out of it just because of that. The seller actually read the letters and realized what my client had and realized that okay, it's not all about the money on this one. So they did the right thing and we got the house. So I think if I would have just sent over that offer, I would have just been one of many and we never would have got the home.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's different than what I think most people believe it is.
Yeah.
Still, that said, you have to have a competitive offer, and the buyers can't just run out there and make lowball offers and write letters and get property, get them accepted. Yeah. That's not happening either. I think another thing that's become really interesting, though, in a hot market like this is that it's easier for agents that are mediocre to seem as though they're performing at market because there's so much demand. But I still believe that choosing the right agent will pay for itself many times over. what would you say is like a good tip for someone who's trying to select, a real estate agent?
I would say, we always interview for listings, right? But nobody really interviews their agent for a buyer. Well, it's just as important, because if you have a home to sell and you have to go and buy another home, is that agent going to be available after hours? Are they going to pick up your phone at 9 and 10 o'clock at night? They should. And if they're not, you need to be questioning yourself, are you working with the right person? Are they going to be available on the weekends? Are they a full-time agent? A lot of people out here in San Diego have their real estate license. I mean, let's face it, everybody I talk to has a real estate license, and but are they full-time? Are they going to be able to get in there and show you that property at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday, or do they have to work till 5 o'clock and they'll show it to you at 6? But in the meantime, somebody else has already seen it and already put a cash offer on it, and now you've lost that home.
And nothing against, new agents out there,
Absolutely
or people who are trying to transition into the business. But I was in an Uber recently where I was talking on the phone to a home seller through Win This Listing, and he heard my conversation. Then he handed me his real estate card. Okay, that's an Uber driver. Now, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Every agent has to do their first deal at some point.
Correct.
Just not doing my deal. That's all. That's all I'm saying. That's cool. You got to do your first deal. I hope your mom or your cousin or somebody, I hope you do it well for them. But you're not doing my deal, your first deal. Sorry. That's all. Right. That's all. So, if nothing wrong with it.
Right.
But
hey, we all have to start somewhere.
Not me.
and I started
not
somewhere
today.
too. So, yeah, it is tough, and you have to be consistent in that. You have to be up to date on what all the new laws are, and what's going on in the market, and what the area is looking like where you're looking for your buyers.
So, if you are a buyer, let's go back to that, because that seems to be where all the real challenges are in this marketplace. I mean, sellers, getting 50, 60,000 above appraised value, they're okay right now. Let's talk about buyers. I mean, is there such thing as a deal if you're a buyer, or what now constitutes a deal as a buyer in this market? How do you find them?
So people ask me a lot, is it a good time to buy? So, going to the buyer, I tell them, you have to ask them certain questions. You can't just say, oh yeah, it's a great time to buy, because it might not be. Maybe they're going to be transferred out of their job in 2 years, and maybe they don't make any equity on it, or who knows what the market's going to do, right? But if it's a long-term hold and you're going to stay there, this is going to be your last home, or you're going to move up and go to a different property but keep this as an investment property, absolutely. There's no wrong time to buy. It's a long-term hold. So regardless what the market does, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, rates are going to go up, they're going to fluctuate as well. So I think if it's a long-term hold, it's always a great time to buy. And here in San Diego, with it being a destination city, how can you really go wrong?
It's always a good time to buy real estate if you plan to have it for 20 years. I don't care what the market's like. If you plan to have it for 20 years, it does not matter.
Correct.
It's okay to buy real estate. However, it's not always a good time to sell. And that's why I've been encouraging people a lot, especially in the last 6 months, and I'm going to get more, I'm going to become even more pronounced and more vigilant. I'll say that. I'll just say, I'm going to become more vigilant about telling people you need to sell now, because there are a lot of folks, like people I just talked to yesterday, they said, yeah, well, we want to sell around March next year. Okay, so that's cool. And you know what? The market will probably be fine in March next year, probably. Assuming that a big catalyst, a huge event doesn't happen between now and then, a 9/11 or North Korea sets off a bomb or something like that would cause the stock market to tank and cause all sorts of things. It would have a ripple effect. It'd be bad. But as long as that doesn't happen, you'll probably be okay. However, whenever you say to yourself, okay, we're going to sell this month, this year, out in the future, you're completely susceptible to the marketplace.
Right.
Completely susceptible. So you, in that particular position, you might say, all right, well, we want to sell in March of next year. Your house could be worth $100,000 less by then. It could. If the right things happen, it could be worth $100,000 less.
Why take the chance and roll the dice?
I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it. I think it's better to say, well, let's go ahead and, we know we've got a great market now. I mean, a great market to sell in right now.
Absolutely.
I would rather sell a little too early than a little too late, Scott, but that's just me.
Yeah. And perfect example, I did an open house. We had a new listing come on over in Rancho Penasquitos. We listed it at $798, and it wound up going for $885. I did the first, I listed on Friday night, had a blind offer for $47,000 over asking at 11:30 at night on a Friday. Saturday, I pulled in to put my signs up, and that day, I had 2 people waiting at the front door. One was the blind offer, and I had 43 couples come through that open house in 4 hours. It was absolutely incredible.
Proof. It's an amazing time to sell.
Yeah, it's a great time to sell.
Take advantage. I will just get louder with this message. Scott, thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely.
Really,
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Commercial free.
I think I speak for myself and the rest of the crew when I say we have a lot of fun on set of Win This Listing. But what is it like actually being on the show? Please welcome real estate professional Joe Corbisiero and homeowners Eric and Melanie Marriott.
And look, we're all here. Amazing. This is so much fun. We have the Marriotts here today. How you guys doing?
Good. Good.
Fantastic to have you here.
Thanks.
And El Nazo, Joe Corbisiero is here. What's going on, buddy?
My new nickname.
Yeah, I do.
I can tell.
It fits you well.
Right?
That's a good one.
I love it.
So this is, you are the first homeowners that we've had from Win This Listing to come on this show.
Oh, wow.
To talk about the experience.
What an honor.
Yes, and it's been a crazy thing doing that show. It really has been. And we've come a long way in the production side. And the thing that's been really great, though, from the very beginning is that the process has always generated results. But what I would like to do is give you guys the opportunity to sort of give us a little background, something that we might actually be able to use in your show when it airs. And kind of tell us where you were. I mean, what was going on before you encountered Win This Listing? What was kind of going on in your world?
Ooh, a lot going on, really.
Crazy world.
Yeah.
We lived in Poway, which is northern San Diego, and for 20 years, and we had built this dream home that my husband built, and we did it as a family, and we thought we'd be in this home forever. We had been there for 10 years, and but circumstances change, and life has a way of, curveball. Yeah. And we didn't expect it, and so I know that happens a lot of people. You don't expect these things to happen. And a lot of my family had moved, finances had changed, a lot of my family had moved to Utah, and we're needing kind of us wanting to be there with them, and then our kids were leaving the house. We had a huge house, and we really were needing to downsize, and
We'd really planned on, this house is where everybody comes
forever.
Back to.
That was where our mindset was.
We have Christmases here, and then we're looking around saying,
why?
We don't need this much space
for just us
for
now.
once a year events.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we were at, and so we were just, it was, 6 months ago, July or so, we decided we need to sell the house and move up to be near my family. My dad was needing help, my mom was sick, and I'm a nurse, and so we wanted to kind of be there to help out, and our youngest of 4 kids graduating from high school, and yeah, like he said, we didn't need a 4,500 square foot house.
So we broke the news to the kids in September over Labor Day weekend that we're selling the house.
It was very emotional. I was crying, they were crying, because it was all of our dream, to kind of stay there forever, and that was their home, and especially our youngest. So it was an emotional thing. So anytime I started talking about it with anybody that we told, I would just start crying.
Yeah.
Even though in my heart I knew that was where we needed to go, it was pretty emotional.
You guys have built an amazing home there, and
there's just a lot of memories there.
Just life.
Had so many years there.
Yeah, and 20 years
kids.
in Poway, 10 years in that house, but in the neighborhood,
friends
and friends that are family basically. Yeah. So we were very, very attached.
And then obviously at some point you said, maybe we should do this on TV.
Well, I'm an HGTV fan, and so I'm always on like reality TV because I like having the sound, and then of course I have to see the reveals, and
She likes having
I like
the
to
sound
decorate
of it.
and
And it's just on all day. HGTV.
Well,
all day.
I don't like a quiet house, so it's got to have either the music on or HGTV or DIY or something, you know, some reality something going on.
And she you know, frequently on Facebook and looking at things and checking out how friends
and
are
I'm like,
and what's
what?
happening.
And seriously, like a week after we decided we were going to sell the house, I see it like, oh, are you going to be selling your house in the next 6 to 12 months? Apply here, win this listing. And I'm like, huh? So just kind of like perked my interest. So I'm like.
So we conversated several times.
Yeah, we called
we
you.
talked quite a bit.
We filled out the thing.
We were going to have, you know, we were kind of making a long plan.
Yeah.
Right.
Circumstances, which you'll have to tune into the show to sort of get more of an idea about.
Yeah.
Kind of made us go, you know what, maybe we should do this sooner rather than later.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And that's when we did the show.
Yeah.
And Joe, after a highly contested battle, wins the listing.
That foosball challenge.
Foosball challenge.
You got to watch that.
That was amazing.
That was.
That was amazing.
That was good.
Now, he comes back, you know,
Got
wins
skills.
the show. And a lot of the agents were thinking, you know, mid-8s, maybe high 8s. We'd be lucky to get to 9. Tell us what happened, Joe.
Well, we put together a really good plan with our team. I think we played a lot on the emotional attachment that they had to the house, and transmit that to the buyers. So what really sold the house, it was this amazing video that we put together, which really constructed the history, the story about this home, how it was built, and all the the love that they put into it. And we had a mega open house going on the weekend that we had probably 100 plus people.
Yeah,
come
yeah,
down.
yeah.
And
Insane.
Yeah, and several people saw this video that we had,
They mentioned
advertised
it.
out there. As a matter of fact, as a result, they felt the attachment, and we were able to get $53,000 more than asking price, and actually
9 offers.
9 offers, yeah, and the rent back up to June 8th.
Yeah, 5-month rent back.
Yeah.
In like 5 days.
That's amazing.
So,
That
I
really
mean,
is
look,
amazing.
we
It
work
was
great as
great.
a team. They're fantastic to work with. We didn't even need staging the house. It's impeccable. I mean, you both done such an amazing job.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
in my whole career, it's probably one of the cleanest, more beautiful, but not just beautiful on the outside. It's like it felt good. You know, when you come in the house, you open the doors, there's an amazing vibe. Like you can feel
Wow.
that. So that's
Wow.
it's both of you. I mean,
Yeah.
you as a family.
Yeah.
And that's what really, I think, sold
lot
the
of
house.
love in that house.
You know, I was telling them on the backstage, we always have tendencies to talk about price and results and blah, 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 but we never talk about the emotional part of it. And I'm glad they came here and you guys can talk about
Yeah.
that. The emotional part of selling the house,
very hard.
even on the other side when you're negotiating, you know,
Right.
as a matter of fact, you had a lot going through, your questions. It was a delicate situation.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not that I'm a magician or anything like that. I think it's about faith. It's about, things happen for a reason,
Yeah.
period.
And
I
just
mean,
trusting it'll work out. And
right, you said the same thing. We have, most of the agents who are going for the I-8, mid-8. We sold it for $953 or $952.
Yeah, it was
whatever
$953.
Yeah, that's an amazing result.
Huge, and it was it was a crucial thing for you guys to get the rent back as well, so you could stay until because you have your daughter's graduating from high school.
Moving once is bad enough, but moving out to move out again.
Yeah, right. That would be.
That'd have been brutal. So you got a great price for the home. You got the rent back. You basically got everything you wanted from the situation.
I think
which
it was
is
a good
amazing.
move that we applied.
And really, another really important thing for us is who's buying it, who are they, how are they going to take care of it, are they going to love the house as much as we have?
And for those details, you'll need to tune in to the show to see
Yeah.
exactly how it all comes down. Thank you guys so much for coming in today. This has been amazing having you on the show. Fantastic, and you were amazing on Win This Listing as well. Cannot wait to release that episode. Joe,
me too.
great job, my friend. You did amazing. You're awesome. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else.
Is the inspection or the appraisal more important when buying a home? Let's find out from the president of the real estate inspection company, Philippe Heller.
And he's back. Philippe Heller is here. What's up, man?
How's it going?
Good to have you here. Always. As always, making us smarter, and I rely on you for that. This is something that's come up quite a bit, which is, you know, people who are buying these days seem to be a lot more concerned about the appraisal than they are their inspection. Will it appraise? Will it appraise? Is it going to appraise? Even the sellers are concerned about that more than anything else. We see that very rarely appraisals don't come in, very rarely. But I would say it happens frequently. We see requests for repairs and things that are derived from an inspection.
Correct.
So it seemed to me that the inspection is more important to pay attention to than the appraisal. But let's try to identify both. So the appraisal is there to mostly protect the bank, which in turn protects the buyer.
From overpaying, yes.
From overpaying. That's the idea behind it. But now that doesn't mean that the market can't go down and you can still be upside down.
Right, it's no guarantee.
So, no guarantees.
Sure.
The inspection, however, is different. It's just for the buyer.
That is true. And I think that the appraisal is very important because it's usually the first step. What does every agent say? Derek, you want to buy a house? We're going to get you pre-approved. You know, and we need to know that you can afford. So we have to get the appraisal to see what kind of loan you need to get. And so that's a first step. It's on everybody's mind right up front. The inspection kind of comes in at the 10th hour, 11th hour, and so, you know, it's the final kind of fine-tuning of the value of the house.
Right. And that is ordered by, technically ordered by the buyer.
Most of the time, yeah.
Most of the time ordered by the buyer, but it's for the buyer.
Yes.
So this is specifically for you. The appraisal is for the bank, which trickles down to you, which is great. But that's more of a 35,000-foot view on the whole thing. They're not really drilling down into much. I mean, they will get in, they will measure the rooms to get square footage, but that's about as far as they drill down, is square footage. So with the inspection, depending upon who you have do the inspection, obviously. This one you brought in is hilarious. We'll get to it in a second. But that's there to protect the buyer solely.
Correct.
It's the buyer's discretion. A buyer can say, in other words, the bank's not looking at this. No one else is going to say anything except for the buyer to say, look at the findings of that and determine whether or not they should take a course of action.
Right, because there are some significant items that could cost the buyer some money, and it may be the difference between the house being comfortable and livable and not being comfortable and livable. If the roof is leaking, if the air conditioner doesn't work or the heat doesn't work, that's a big issue. Home inspections were never intended to find every scratch or dent and loose doorknob. It was for significant items. And so those are definitely things that the buyer needs to consider, because if they're ponying up all their money to buy the home, they may not have $5,000, $10,000 for repairs after they move in.
And the difference is, I think, is the inspection is more of well, the appraisal is more of a check and balance, whereas the inspection is more of an investment.
Yes.
You could look at it like it in insurance as well, but I look at it more of an investment, because multiple times, for me personally, where I had inspections done on properties and I did not buy them. And that probably saved me so much money. Who knows? Just a $400 or $500 inspection save, probably tens of thousands of dollars.
Sometimes more.
Yeah. So I consider it to be more of an investment.
Well, there is a great return on a home inspection. And from our studies that we've done, a buyer usually realizes about 3 times to 4 times the cost of the inspection in seller concessions. Even if it's something as simple as identifying a bad water heater or a bad air conditioning condenser. Well, if you spent $500 on a home inspection, water heaters nowadays to get installed are $1,500 to $2,000 or more. So right there, by having that inspection report and being able to go to the seller, hey, this has failed. We would like either a concession of some sort or get it repaired. So you immediately see it's one of the best returns on your investment during the real estate transaction.
Absolutely, because as a seller, and it amazes me how many sellers don't get a pre-listing inspection, because then they could get ahead of all these things and they could have the leverage themselves, but most of them don't do it. So they're leaving it up to the buyer. The buyer goes in. That's the best tool that a buyer has to negotiate with, without question.
And the term you coined, which is really brilliant, made everybody smarter, is whoever gets the inspection has the upper hand in the negotiation, whether it's the seller or the buyer, and that's a very valid point.
whoever gets the inspection first, because they have the information. The inspection provides valuable and crucial information to the sale of that property. So whoever has that has access to that information first has the advantage first.
Absolutely.
The seller can either go make those repairs on their own, save themselves negotiating power, or they can leave it up to the buyer to go do that, and the buyer could then back out.
Walk away.
Completely. Could just say, you know what, I don't feel like negotiating with you, I'm done. Now you have to go back on the market. All sorts of bad things happen when you have to go back on the market when you're listing. You lose all your negotiations. So the buyer has a very strong position. To get their money's worth is almost guaranteed, because the best thing that can happen in an inspection is that everything checks out and it's perfect. And that is worth the peace of mind all on its own.
By itself.
But most likely that's not going to happen. Most likely there's going to be a few things that get pointed out. Those items are going to now be the leverage that you have to negotiate, either to get some concessions, get some stuff fixed, or say,
it's not the right house for you.
Bye-bye. Now, of course, that depends on what kind of inspection you get.
Yes.
Can we hold that up real quick? So this is a real inspection.
This is the entire inspection. This is the whole thing.
One page.
Our reports come in on average between 30 and 60 pages with pictures, thermal image, video clips, lots of information, documenting everything, which is very important just so you as a homeowner have that documentation. If you ever have a home warranty claim, for example, you can prove the condition of something. But I want to caution agents that if their buyer, because they know somebody, a friend, a brother, somebody like that, who's a home inspector, and I'll put that in quotes, and this is what you get, I would highly recommend that the agent bring in their own inspector that they trust, because this is the kind of thing that ends up very often in a lawsuit, and the agents always get dragged in, and it's because not enough was disclosed about the condition of the property.
Can I see that real quick?
Absolutely.
So this is one page, and at the bottom it says, I will not hold this person responsible for any items not found during walkthrough inspection, and they want you to sign it right there. So, I mean, you look at this, washer, dryer, it just simply writes on here, not inspected. Well, there was one on here, where does it said? It said something like, oh, heating system, cooling system, have it checked. You should really have someone check this out.
Don't
That's
ask
basically
me.
what he's saying. Heating system, yeah, you should have that checked. What are you doing? So this is real life. This is real life. This is what can happen. This is not from the real estate inspection company.
No.
The real estate inspection company, you're going to get a very thorough inspection. You're going to get tons of information about the property that will either help you make a decision about whether this is the right house for you or not, or it will give you power in the negotiating process to get you that return on your investment, which you're almost guaranteed to get anytime you get an inspection. Philippe Heller, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Fantastic stuff. Tremendous information as always, making us smarter. That's what we do here. We make you smarter than everyone else. It's all guaranteed. Stick around for more.
We have questions about the mortgage industry, and the Mortgage Geek is here to answer them. Please welcome the president of Cornerstone Mortgage Group, Sean Cahan.
And there he is. The Mortgage Geek is here. What's up, man? Where's the glasses, baby?
I know, I left them on my desk. I'm so sorry.
Dude.
I can barely see you. Where are you?
I put my glasses on.
Where are you?
This is
I wish I had them.
This is epic. So this is actually a really interesting topic because it rabbit trails in a couple different directions. So contingent offers being accepted more now.
Yes.
In the marketplace.
A lot more.
Is that because the buyer pool of people who aren't also selling has shrunk?
I think that it's just, yes, and people are not willing to put their house on the market until they know they can buy something, so they're very nervous about selling, possibly renting, and then, you know, buying again. So, I mean, the people that I'm talking to with the clients are just like, I am not willing to sell my house or put it into escrow unless I know I can buy something. It's just more, it's happening every single day.
Yeah. I've seen that nervousness as well out there in the marketplace, just talking to applicants from this listing who want to sell. They know they're going to sell, But they're like, well, where are we going to go?
Yeah.
We got to find a place first. Yeah, we'd like to sell the house, but we've looked at a couple things. We haven't really found anything. It doesn't look like there's for sure a place we can land that we love. And we don't want to be forced to buy something that we don't love just because of the timing of the whole thing. So what you're saying is that agents now, listing agents, are accepting offers from those people who haven't sold their house yet, but are saying, we'll buy this house from you as long as our house sells.
Yeah, no, we are definitely seeing more of the listing agents on the buy side accepting the contingent offers, but one of the big questions that they keep bringing up to me is that they trust me doing the financing, so more of the listing agents are wanting us to actually control the buy side of the clients that are buying their property as well, so that it's under one roof. The timing is, it's completely together. We're controlling the appraisal, we're controlling the actual underwriting. They're going in at the exact same time. The updates are the same, so it's really allowing them to have confidence that both transactions are closing together under one roof instead of having, a broker, an institutional bank on one side who does things a lot different. Like maybe they don't order the appraisal till the 15th day. They want the appraisal ordered on day 3, not day 15, and we can control that. So I'm seeing more of our offers get accepted when I'm doing the financing for like the buy side too.
Interesting. So these contingent offers have been really tough for because you start to get legs in the transaction, right? You can get 3 or 4-legged transaction.
Absolutely.
When you start taking contingent offers, because now that person you just took a contingent offer, they need to sell their house. So the person buying their house has also got a contingent offer from their place selling, and you get these multi-leg things going on. Usually, I would say that starts to happen when a market's slowing down. Do you think the market's slowing down?
But I think that the market has been slowing down, and it's only because people don't know where to go to buy. It's a very weird, very weird of what the market's actually happening. I mean, there's less than 5,000 homes or something like that for sale.
Way less, yeah.
And so people are going, well, hey, hold on here. Well, I don't want to list my house because I can't buy something. But then we're like, hey, you need to list your house so that we can have more inventory, so that more people sell. It's like a catch-22, a double-edged sword. It's like, who's going to do it first?
Yeah. When's the first move going to happen? I mean, it's a great time to sell.
I mean, a fantastic time to sell.
Great time to sell.
Also, I think with working with agents that are more, pounding the pavement, doing the door knocking, sending out the flyers on behalf of their clients, shortening their turn times, their contingency times down to like 8 days. More of the ones that we're doing right now, I don't think I've actually had an offer go out there with less than a 12-day contingency.
Really?
Yeah. It just is not happening. Everyone's like, hey, I know, Sean can get it done in less than 12 days. We're totally fine with that. I no joke, I think I'm at about 90% of our offers going over are actually getting accepted. So the agent and I are actually working together like we're a team. That's what the listing agent's looking for, is like lender and agent as a team. Not, I've never used that person, oh, we've only done a couple transactions together. It's like, how long have you been working together? I had a talk with a listing agent yesterday, and after I got done talking to him about how the agent and I worked together for 4 years, 100% pull through on every single transaction, giving him all the warm and fuzzies because we call on every single pre-approval. At the end of the actual conversation, the listing agent asked if I could start working with his clients as well. So I think it's really important that the loan officers are calling the listing agents and kind of vetting out the buyers as well.
Yeah, I think you have to do that in this marketplace because they're getting multiple offers most likely.
Yeah.
And so in the listing agent, you got to remember is that from their perspective, they have to take an offer that's going to come through.
For sure.
They can't go back on the market. Like that's the worst.
That's the reputation.
That's the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
So they're looking at it like not just, okay, I want to get this deal done, but also like I have to make sure that this happens because my sellers, my clients are building timelines for the next steps in their lives based on this happening.
Yes.
So they want, when you say warm and fuzzy, that's really what they want. They want to know like, okay, this deal is going to get done. If we choose this offer, these people are going to buy the house.
Correct.
They're not kicking tires. They aren't looking around. They don't have offers flying out in other places. They are definitely going to buy this house if we pick this one. I think that's the offer that agents are accepting in this marketplace because, as you said, it's gotten thin where it's contingent offer after contingent offer, et cetera, et cetera. So they're looking for, call it warm and fuzzy or call it a gut feeling. They want to choose the offer that they believe is going to close.
Correct.
So if you, as the loan officer, aren't making those phone calls, aren't letting them know that, hey, we're committed to getting this deal done, then it could hurt your chances of getting your offer accepted for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we just did, we came in and saved a deal for a new leaf for Drake Daly. He was, you know, in a 4-way contingency.
Wow.
And the buyer went to 2 different loan officers, 3 appraisals, you know, and finally Drake has been sending all of his clients to me for many years, and he finally convinced the buyer. He's like, you have to go to my lender. I promise you he's going to take care of you. And 30 days later, I closed that transaction when they were in escrow, I think like 90 or 120 days beforehand.
Holy smokes.
You know, the appraisal came in, it got reviewed, everything went great. The client didn't even, you know, we gave him a 30-year fix when the other lenders were trying to, like, you know, scrape together like a first and a second, doing all this like funny stuff because they didn't know what was going on. Like, it was very odd what was going on. But, and also I think that, you know, there's a lot of ego in our industry. And so like, well, I don't want to talk to that other listing agent. I'm like, hold on here. I'll talk to everybody. So I talked to other lenders, agents, the whole entire thing all the way down the line. So.
And that's how it's done. The Mortgage Geek, Sean Cahan, thank you so much for coming in, my friend. Great to see you. Thank you for taking such great care of everybody. And stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. We do it all commercial free.
What is the difference between a trust and a will? Realtor for Century 21 Award Steve Pletz is here with a couple of very special guests to help us break it down. Please welcome from Waitson, Phillips and Weinberg, Lisa Samuth and Julie Dewberry.
There he is. Steve Pletz in the house. What's going on, buddy?
I'm doing very well.
All right, great to have you
on the show.
Absolutely. You wanted to bring on Julie and Lisa today?
Yes.
Tell me why.
Estate attorneys from Whiteson and Associates. What I find as a realtor is that so many times when people are buying or selling, they're in the mind frame of thinking long term, of thinking about finances or CPAs, and an estate attorney is a great referral for me to pass, but also so that people can understand. I would say it's a topic that most people feel like they need to have, but don't know much about.
Yeah, it's tough to begin the conversation, right? And welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Because I think a lot of people know about a will. They know what a will is. You hear people sometimes say, I'm putting you in my will if you do something really nice to them, right?
Absolutely.
And so people think, all right, I need a will. The will is like, all right, you get this microphone and you get this camera if I die. But a trust is different than a will, right? And an estate plan might encompass both. So I think maybe we could help people understand the difference today. Who wants to tell us about the difference between a will and a trust?
I'm happy to let our audience know and to share with everybody the difference between a will and a trust. And it's actually really important for California, because in California, a lot of people are very concerned about avoiding our probate process, which is a court proceeding. If you have nothing in place or if you have a will in place, you actually will be exposed to the probate process if your estate's over a certain value. There's a threshold amount, and it's $150,000. So if you own a house in California, you are going to be exposed to probate because of the value of real estate here. The goal is to try to avoid that court process because it's expensive, time-consuming, burdensome, and you could do that by virtue of having a revocable living trust in place. And you actually put your assets inside of this trust, which is different than a will. A will, you keep everything in your own name, and your will says, when I go, this is how it'll be distributed. Where a trust, everything gets transferred to the trust, and your trust is the same thing that a will does, where everything's distributed however I've set up inside of the trust. But you get to avoid that court process, and that's a huge goal in California.
Yeah, because isn't it true, I mean, it's great for the probate attorneys, right? Because there's like mandated fee amounts. Right? Oh, okay, if you perform this action, you get this fee, but the fees are huge.
They are.
And so it's very, when you say expensive, I mean, it is very, very expensive and time consuming. It takes a long time to go through the process, right? Because there's only so many courts. There's a lot of people who die. So, I mean, there's only so many people who can get through that process in a timely manner, and it's very few. But I think the other thing, too, is with regard to planning. I mean, with a will, it literally just says, you get this, you get that, you get that, you get this, right?
Correct.
Whereas your trust can have all sorts of provisions in place, really whatever you want to dream up. You know, mine says that somebody is going to take my ashes and, you know, jump out onto the field of Busch Stadium during a game and spread them out in center field. Okay, do you know that, Steve?
I did not.
That may not, I mean, it's not illegal to do that. They may be kicked out forever. So you can get very specific if you want to.
Absolutely.
About what it is that you want to have happen. And it's not just a matter of if this, then this. It could be if this, then this, then this, then this, right?
Correct, absolutely. There's a lot you can do inside of a trust. Inside your healthcare directive is where you would essentially say what you would want done with your remains, or if you had some particular wishes about life-sustaining support, whether you want heroic measures or you don't want heroic measures. And Julie and I were talking about how we have some clients who come in who may be concerned about a certain type of illness in their family, like Alzheimer's, and how they might want to be able to provide some provisions inside their healthcare directive even to say, if I have some type of dementia or Alzheimer, I want certain types of treatment and I don't want certain types of treatment. And Julie was talking about how she had drafted a healthcare directive, which was some very creative language for her client.
Yes, I had one client, and her specific request is if she was not able to make decisions on her own. First, she did not want any medication besides medication for pain and antibiotics. And then secondly, if she was able to still feed herself and eat, she wanted to be fed a brownie sundae, at least weekly, with full-fat ice cream. So she put that in there. That's what she wanted, and now it'll be a lot easier for her family and her doctors, not just with the pain, but for how to treat her food-wise when she no longer can give them the instruction.
But doing that type of planning allows you to really get into the detail of things. Or if you have children that you don't want them to just be handed over a lump sum of money, a trust is an ideal vehicle to essentially say, I don't want my 18-year-old to inherit the house, all the insurance, and the retirement money. I'd actually like it to be held in trust and managed by, which a lot of people, because of the will, they want to call it your executor, but it's a trustee, same type of role an executor would have under a will. And that trustee would gather all of that and manage it however you've designed inside of your estate plan. You get a lot of attention, and working with a great attorney who has a lot of experience with that is helpful to kind of get their insight and their background.
Yeah, and when you're talking about the estate plan, I mean, when you get to the healthcare directive, now we're talking about the estate plan, right? So the estate plan will encompass a trust, a will, an advanced healthcare directive. I believe there's something else too.
A power of attorney.
Power of attorney.
Yeah.
So all of those things are going to be inside of your estate plan. So when we say, creating an estate plan, we're not just talking about a trust.
Correct.
Although a lot of people will associate that. The trust is a specific vehicle for making your wishes come true, whether you have the capacity to let someone know about that or not. So you do it when you have the capacity, so if you don't, for some reason later, people will know what to do.
Absolutely. One of the other benefits about a trust is it's private. So when you do a will and you're in probate, everybody gets to know what you did. They get to know what all your assets are. They get to know who's getting what. Under a trust, you're removed from the court as long as all of your assets are inside of the trust, because one of our biggest things that we do in our office is make sure we educate our clients that creating a trust is great, but you physically have to get your house in the trust, your bank accounts in the trust. Those assets need to be inside of the trust. And essentially the trust can do a lot of things, and within really sometimes it's very broad parameters. We have clients who come in without children, and I think that's the hardest decision for them, because with your kids you're like, okay, my kids are getting it equally, I don't want them to get it all until they're 35. We're going to make these lump sum distributions over a certain amount of time. If they want to buy a house, we'll allow our trustee permission to give them money. But then when you don't have kids, it's a little bit more tricky. Which of my friends should I leave money to? Should I leave money to my siblings, my parents, my animals, those types of things? It can get really fun.
It gets really fun, Steve. So we should talk about triggers too, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, like buying a house, definitely. If you bought a house, if you had a child, I mean, these are opportunities to create a trust, right? I mean, this is what, it was designed for, like these situations. Like this is slap in the face moments where you should be like, okay, do I have a trust or do I not? It's amazing. I mean, I think, you tell me what your number is, but I would say at least 90% of people who buy a house don't have a trust.
Oh, I think that's a very fair number, perhaps even more.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to me why the number of people that do not have it and the reasons for not having it. which often comes down to cost or, oh, we're in good health, it's something that we will plan to do later on. It's amazing to me. I completely agree.
Yeah, wow, it's wild.
The New York Times published a stat saying people who are under the age of 40, it's about 18% have something in place. So the younger generations that are up and coming, and I mean that's reflective. When you're buying your first house, you don't have a trust in place.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that makes sense. If to feel like, oh yeah, well I'm young and everything's fine. That's something that's for people who have other things to worry about that I don't have to worry about. But the reality is that once you are in a situation where you have other people that you're caring for, or whether you're in a situation where you might have a probated circumstance should something happen to you, those are the times when you go and create the estate plan, because that's when it is going to make the most sense for you and your family and become the most efficient vehicle for you to get your wishes met, regardless as to whether or not you have the capacity to tell people about them or not. Thank you guys so much for coming today. Really, really appreciate your time. You guys have been great.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Fantastic. Oh, and you're okay too, Steve. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
There's a lot to do and see around San Diego, one of them being the Carlsbad Lagoon. We have Brian DeVore in the house with special guest from the Aqua Hedionda Lagoon Foundation, CEO Lisa Rodman.
And he's back. Mr. Carlsbad is here.
Yes, how are you?
What's up, dude?
I'm doing good, how are you?
Doing good, I got glasses now.
I noticed that. It's very impressive, I like that a lot.
Just trying to be like you. Just trying to be like
that's
you.
okay.
So, the Carlsbad Lagoon.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever chatted about it before. Everyone knows it's there. Today, you wanted to bring Lisa on.
Yeah.
Talk about it.
Absolutely. So, so there's 3 lagoons in Carlsbad, and the one in the center is Agua Hedionda Lagoon. It's one of the more known areas of San Diego County. Lots going on there, a lot of good history, and there's a wonderful organization, the foundation, which educates people about the lagoon, the history of the lagoon, and preserving the lagoon, which is very important to people who live in Carlsbad. So I wanted to have Lisa on. She's the president of the foundation, to come talk about it.
Cool. So, Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
I'm not quite the president, though. I'm just the CEO. The president is Ian McDaniel.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. They rotate every 2 years. Okay. Fabulous board.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what is a lagoon, first of all? Like, people hear that word lagoon. What's a lagoon? What does that mean?
It's a body of water that is at the end of a watershed that is, ours, for instance, is brackish water. So that means that it's dredged and the ocean comes in and it meets a clear water stream. That's what a lagoon is.
That's a lagoon. Okay.
There you go.
So tell us a little bit about
it. It's an ecosystem.
It's an ecosystem in itself.
Yes.
Tell us about the sort of the history behind the Carlsbad Lagoon.
So what I can tell you is that in 1990 there were passionate people that wanted everybody to come and experience the lagoon. They also were seeing all the development around the lagoon, and they wanted to make sure that people still had access to it. So they formulated the foundation, and that was back in 1990. And it became most important when they were able to get the Discovery Center. And the Discovery Center was the educational piece that they were missing so that they could get their message out. And that came through the planned community of Aviara. When they finished the selling of the retail part, the lots, like underneath of our chandelier, lot 179, lot 170, you come in, you'd pick your lots out there. That building got repurposed. So we were the first sustainable effort that went on, right? We recycled our building from the developer. And it landed on this piece of dirt that the Kelly family gave us. And so they put it in 3 different segments and trucked it across Faraday. But it wasn't Faraday at the time. And there it sat, unused for about 5 years while they figured out funding and stuff like that. Their big claim to fame is the killing of Caulerpa taxifolia, which is a killer algae that threatened to close the lagoon. We're an active multi-use lagoon, different from our cousins to the right and the left of us, because we actually use our lagoon. We don't just preserve the lagoon. So that's the message that we try to get out all the time through our educational programs. And this Clerpatex folia money was what started the educational program. I entered onto the scene 7 years ago, and we had 3 schools going there, just under 100 members, and a budget that was on a Word doc that was $90,000. And since then, through the effort of connecting up the community, because I'm not a scientist, you probably figured that out as soon as I answered the lagoon question, but I'm a community connector, we are now servicing 7,966 kids.
Wow.
Annually, right? Over 7 school districts, and actually an 8th one came on this year. So we have 523 members. I have to get that out because that's a proud number. We broke 500. We were
That's
really,
awesome.
yeah. And our budget's just about the $500,000 mark.
Congratulations, that's amazing. So the education for the kids and on all the things that you're doing, I mean, what is it that you're mostly wanting to educate people about with regard to the lagoon? Is it the uses or the history, or what's most important for you guys?
So we go into 3 different programs, and we try to cover the history, which is super rich around the lagoon. I mean, it starts with the Liseños, which were the Native Americans that inhabited it. And then we talk about the watershed and the health of the watershed and the Rancho period of the lagoon, as well as the flora and fauna that make up all the ecosystem around there. So we have, we're home to the swallows that are known to be part of Capistrano. We have more, just about 300.
Wow.
Yeah.
The swallows of Carlsbad. I didn't know that even existed. Yeah, right.
So you have some upcoming events coming too, right?
We do. We have an inaugural event, the Paddle Regatta, and this is so that people can go on the lagoon, paddling around in any passive vehicle, and it's $45 to sign up, and you get a t-shirt. You'll go to 6 different spots around the lagoon, and there'll be eco messages that you'll get to learn about different parts of the lagoon. You get raffle tickets every time you go to one of the stops. If you go to all the stops, which would be about an hour and a half, you will get double the raffle tickets. And what do you do with them? You try to win the stand-up paddle board that was donated to us by Boardworks.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
With the paddle. That's an extra special bonus.
Is that something a lot of people do in the lagoon? Is paddle boarding and stuff like that?
They do, yes. People have different ways to interact with the lagoon. We have birders that come in and just are doing that. Birders are people who look and hear birds and count them and experience the lagoon through that. And then we have an amazing active lagoon where people jet ski and water ski and fish and paddle and kayak. It's crazy
It's
on
amazing.
a
Jet ski, really?
Yeah.
Jet ski, yeah.
If you're ever driving on the 5 freeway, especially during the spring and summertime, during the day, you're driving up and down the coast and you see the jet skiers are out there, and
that's my lagoon.
That's that lagoon.
Okay.
And on the other side of the 5, they have a farm, a fish farm, where they're raising fish for food. And the desalinization plant, which was just built a couple years ago by Poseidon, is over there as well, servicing about 10% of San Diego's water source.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How big is the lagoon?
400 acres.
It's a lot of water.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I just didn't realize
It's
it was
massive.
so big.
Yeah.
3
it goes pretty
separate
far
parts.
back.
Yeah.
That's huge. So that's plenty of room to jet ski.
Exactly. Right. And do everything else at the same time.
And not run into it. I was thinking, it's like bumper cars, jet ski must be on this lagoon. No.
Yeah, right.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
and I think it's important to, again, it's one of the prides of Carlsbad, I think, that people need to know about as far as the history and preserving it, so that people can come for generations and enjoy the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And we're teaching the future lagoon stewards. That's our job up there. So we teach them about why it's important to access the lagoon. That's what the trails are about and why we're always trying to build trails. And also that the clean water is important to this whole ecosystem. So we do it in a balanced way. I mean, we're sitting there with a power plant and a desal plant and a sea bass hatchery and an aqua farm with jet skis and an educational piece. So we literally are a mini UN, and we sit there and try to stay balanced.
And that is the lagoon.
Exactly.
Carlsbad right there.
Right.
Thank you guys so much for coming in today.
Thank
Mr.
you.
DeVore, thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Oh,
All the great
absolutely.
work you're doing at the Carlsbad
Really
Lagoon.
appreciate it.
That's it for this edition of Smarter San Diego TV. Of course, this is where we make you smarter than everyone else, and we do it all commercial free. We'll see you next week, same time, same channel.
I tried pulling on my leash and there was nothing, and it was pitch black. And I just realized that I had to relax and wait. You know, my body will bring me to the surface. I'm buoyant, so just kind of calmed down and then made my way to shore, and it scared the daylights out of me. So ever since that moment, I've realized that I need to check the reports, and I need to be on top of conditions and what's going on, and also not surf alone is one really important rule. I rely on surfing for my mental escape day to day, and waves and wave observations are really important so I can know where to go, how to be safe about it, and maybe where to go to get the most efficient surf. So yeah, knowing the conditions has become part of my regular everyday routine. The Coastal Data Information Program, or CDIP, maintains over 60 buoys around the entire U.S. that capture information on waves and temperature, and these buoys also contribute to beach studies. In addition to buoys around the U.S., we have buoys in the Marshall Islands, Guam, and Puerto Rico. I was hired as the Public Relations Coordinator for CDIP. And basically, I make sure that the public is well informed on how to use the data, and that government understands how important it is to our users. We have a range of users, from the military to surfers to engineers and planners, and so many more. So in addition to the work I do with the wave buoys, I use the wave buoys to look at local conditions. The buoys are providing real-time measurements.
Hey, great show, guys. That's a wrap. Jade, what's your schedule look like? Do you mind breaking down the set?
Not today, Derek. I'd love to, but there's waves out there. I gotta go.
No, I can't either. I'm starting to get hangry and have way too much stuff to do today. Claudia, you've got this, right?
Sure, guys. I would love to. I'll get right to work.